here. Been through hell and back. I'm here. I'm stronger than I know I'm gonna be fine. I'm here.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Golden's Guide to Divorce. I'm Deborah Hawkins, your host, and we're in Pronk Studios, which I love so much being here. This is one of the favorite parts of my week. And today I have a special guest in the studio that I can't wait for you to meet. And I think, in the previous episodes, we've talked a lot about, emotions and our sadness and our fear and our grief. And today we're really going to talk about movement and how that's going to help us as we're moving through divorce. No pun intended. But anyway, so our guest today is Kristi Reid Barton, and she's a yoga meditation trainer. She's a yoga therapy counselor. She's a certified natural health professional. She's also a Reiki Master 3. And most importantly, she's the director of It's Yoga Studio right here in Greenville. And I have had the pleasure of knowing her for quite some time. She's actually been teaching yoga to students and clients in the upstate since the 90s. So trust me when I say she is a highly trained yoga master. So I am just thrilled to have her here. And welcome, Kristi. Thanks for being
you, Deborah.
Here.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Like I said, I wanted to get into us really talking about movement. Like I said on the show, we've talked a lot about our emotions and what to do with those, and the anger and the sadness. And as we move through the stages of divorce, and especially me, I'm talking about me right now, and of course all of our listeners out here. But what would you say? Why would you say yoga specifically is important to a woman going through divorce?
Well, it really allows you to release some healthy emotional base in the endorphins, that feel-good emotional base. Mm-hmm. So when you do let that emotion come through, then you feel better all the way along. So you actually can look at different things in a manner that maybe you hadn't been able to because you have anger or there's grief involved.
I know I've heard stories of people saying, they were on their knees, or in the fetal position or couldn't move. And I mean, I've literally heard people say yoga saved their life. Mm-hmm. So, what do you think about when you hear people say that about something that you're so specialized in?
When you start moving the body, then you have to go inside and think about what you're feeling on that level. And so the body movement actually gets you away from thinking of what I feel upset about or anxious about or sad about. It has to come back in so that you focus on, well, where am I standing? Where am I in time and space right now? And focusing on the breath. So that movement combined with the breath actually takes you away from all of these little thoughts and fragments back into that centeredness, that present moment of what am I doing right here on the yoga mat, for example.
Right. Well, I know for me, I think going through this process, I've never realized how uncentered I have really been at this point in time, and I love that we have a tool like this, for women to be able to use. So, you mentioned breath, and I think it's something that we all just kind of take for granted. I've heard a lot about breath work, breath classes. Talk to me more about what we're not doing correctly, what we're missing in the whole breath, and what is the difference in what we just automatically do and don't really think about versus the consciousness, the conscious breath.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually, it's interesting when you think about how we're breathing even on a daily basis. We breathe only from the chest up. So that creates a lot of stress. So if we already have stress and anxiety and feel terrible about what's going on in our lives, we just keep it right here, which is where our heart is too. So when we use the breath in yoga, we actually are relearning how to fully breathe. So the lung capacity gets expanded, and in that expansion, you're also getting more oxygen through every part of your body. So through the lungs, through the heart, through all the internal organs, all the muscle groups. So it feels better. You have a lightness just from the breath that you don't have when you're just breathing from the chest up.
Right. So is that something in your classes that is that like a, primer, breath before you even start? Or
Oh,
how does that-
definitely. Yeah. It's a fundamental. It's one of those first foundational things that you have in all the classes, all the instructors, whether you're doing a private session or a class, you learn how to breathe.
Yeah, I've noticed, going through my process that I can get really unconsciously stressed, and my shoulders are up like this, and I'm barely breathing, and I'll try just to, bring my shoulders down and take a deep breath. And I think that's such a simple thing that people just they just forget, right?
We don't think about the breathing because we think, well, it's automatic.
Right.
But just like you were saying, the shoulders are up here, and as soon as I realize they're up, my awareness changes to me of what I'm feeling. So I'm paying more attention. I'm centered. I'm present in now what's going on. Oh, well, in order to let the shoulders come down, I breathe a little deeper.
Well, and yoga is considered so mind-body. Speak to me more about that. How that's, anytime I've ever thought of yoga or read about yoga or been to yoga classes, they're very specific about mind-body and the connection in yoga.
Yeah. Well, everything that we do starts with a thought. And that thought creates the feeling or the emotion. And that feeling in the body creates the action. So when we're thinking, all right, well, here's someone in front of me, the instructor, I've got to put my feet here and I have to move my arms here. And then I'm also doing the breath. So we're connecting all parts of ourselves rather than saying, okay, well, I'm just going to do the poses and not do anything more than that. So we're really coming back into that wholeness, into that centeredness, and we've got the mind and the body back into me.
Right. What would you say about, there are some people who are just, they just go to the gym, and how do you think, surely they learn to breathe when they're working out at the gym too. How do you think going to the gym is different than yoga?
Well, with the gym, it's all about the body only, and they really don't get any lessons to do breath. They just, whatever they're breathing is what they're doing. And a lot of it is short, shallow breath, where with the yoga, it's deep, long, slow, the full lungs that we're working with. So you can actually use yoga breath in doing things with the gym, and you get more out of the poses. And of course, the other part is with doing a gym workout, it's more no pain, no gain. And in yoga, anytime you go into that point where you've got any discomfort or pain at all, you really are working against yourself. So we come back into moving into what am I feeling right now? So you can change the way you're feeling by just paying attention, staying in that centeredness, staying in that point of where am I right now?
I love you said that about the no pain thing, because right now, at this point in my life, I am not into any pain at all.
Yeah.
And the idea of doing something physical with my body, but stopping when there's pain.
Right.
it feels much more loving to me
Yes.
than trying to, like I used to, push through. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I've certainly injured myself. I can remember like
Exactly.
doing, weights over my head, and I created a shoulder issue that I had for over a year, and I'm sure having a good trainer, keeps you from doing that too. But I love the idea of paying such attention to your body when it hurts. You
Yeah.
stop. Is that what?
Yeah,
What
that's
do you
exactly.
tell? What do you tell your
Yes.
students? I mean, do you ask them if Are you? How do you notice that?
Well, I can look at people's faces and actually see where they're grimacing or they're holding their breath. That's the first indication that they're
Oh, wow.
working away from being centered and being with themselves. And if you're going through a divorce, you've already got enough pain. So getting out of pain is really important, and that's where yoga can help.
Wow. Yeah. That feels good just to think about it that way.
Yeah.
So I know we talked about releasing endorphins. And I've also, when we've talked before, talked to me about, especially for women my age, I know you've talked about that it regulates hormones, and which can help with our mood. And so how does yoga actually do that?
Well, it actually stems right back to the breath again. So the more breath we have in the body, the more we're going to have circulation, both blood flow and oxygen flow. And we're going to have our hormones better in balance just by doing breath. So you work into that point of feeling better because you have more circulation. The more circulation you have, the better you're going to feel. And it's very similar to an analogy if you're swimming in a pool, for example. When you inhale, what do? You float. So what we do in this oxygen soup, if you will, is when you breathe in, you're actually expanding all your muscles, and it does make you feel better. And I always call it spiraling up instead of spiraling down.
Oh, I like that. Spiraling up. Yeah.
We all want to feel good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yoga helps in so much by doing the movements, by thinking into just connecting again to yourself.
Well, I know you've been doing this a long time, and I know that you have studied under many yoga masters, and and that you're a master yourself. So, what would you say about? I know yoga goes back thousands and thousands of years, and obviously they knew something, that we didn't. They haven't been in the gym for thousands and thousands of years. So,
Yeah, they're 6,000 years old.
6,000.
6,000 years old. And the original sages were actually, for the yoga poses, looking around in nature to see, well, how do the animals and the creatures that are around me live life more fully, live life in peace and non-suffering? Because they were wanting to sit in meditation, which also is part of yoga, but they wanted to see how this body can connect to being at peace without suffering. So that's why we have names of poses: down face dog, the cat pose, the pigeon pose, the eagle pose. So it's all because
Pigeon pose.
Pigeon pose.
Yeah, I remember. I don't know why I remember that one. But
yeah.
So
And it's very specific for those areas of the body for each one. So they were watching. And if you have an animal, your dog, for example, as soon as that dog gets up from sleeping, it doesn't just run or go somewhere. It stretches. It moves. It might go into what we call down face dog.
Yeah.
So it moves through the spine. So that's opening up all of their own hormones and glands to feel better.
That's interesting. You brought up a word that I'm really interested in, that I always feel. I wish I would get this as a practice, because stretching actually makes me feel so much better. And I know there is a lot of stretching built into yoga. And so how do you think that aligns the body, helps the body?
We're opening up the joints, we're opening up the tendons, we're getting the spine back into alignment. just by moving. You know, we can sit with our shoulders up into our ears, for example, like we said, but at the same time, if we lift the chest, sometimes we'll even hear a pop in our neck. Well, what you've just done is stretched and moved to make the vertebra go back into alignment because the muscles aren't pulling it in one side or another. And when we have anger or grief or anxiety, that's exactly what it does. We get knots in the body, and in order to open it up, yoga will stretch and open those areas up to get enough oxygen in so that you feel better, and the muscles will come back into alignment. The spine will come back into alignment.
All on its own.
On its own, just by giving it the right breath and a little stretch, a little movement.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. You know, in thinking about, like right now, I certainly have a lot of tightness in my neck, and, you know, there are people out there, especially when you go through a divorce, your body can do all kinds of stuff, just like your mind will do all kinds of stuff. What would you tell someone who felt like they had an injury or, you know, were favoring, you know, like me, my neck or whatever? How do you work yoga into someone who's feels like they have an injury?
Well, yoga can actually help all of those, whether it's a chronic or a weekend warrior, if you will, or if it's someone who because of going through a divorce, they've just been crying all the time, and so they're sitting in a fetal position, and now their back aches. So what happens with the yoga poses is that we go into working with different areas of the body. So even in a class or a personal session, we actually will say, well, this is going to work on your hips. This is going to work on your middle back between your shoulder
hips.
blades.
Oh,
Yes.
Neck,
Hip,
hips.
hooray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Exactly.
exactly.
And that's what we want. We want to open those areas up so that you feel good again.
Right, right. Well, we need to go to break, but when we come back, would you help me kind of get some stuff
Definitely.
stretched out and opened up and you know, all
let's
that?
do some poses.
Okay, let's do it. All right, guys, when we come back, we are going to move the table. We're going to have some fun, and we are going to do some poses to get ourselves opened up and our endorphins going and our mood and our hormones all feeling all sweet and happy. So we'll be right back.
This episode of The Golden's Guide to Divorce is proudly brought to you by Franny's Pharmacy of Greenville, a leading seed-to-shelf hemp and CBD brand. From tinctures to topicals and everything in between, Franny's Pharmacy Greenville is the most curated and thoughtfully stocked CBD dispensary in the Southeast. Whether you're shopping in-store or online, rest assured they only bring you the best of the best. Check out Franny'sPharmacyGreenville.com today and enjoy free shipping.
Hi everybody, we're back. We've moved the table and we're gonna create some movement. This is really fun for me because I'm usually just behind the desk. I'm literally behind the desk all day long. So it's gonna be really fun to get to stretch. And also, I've specifically asked Kristi to show some poses for me because of the heart thing I had. So she's gonna talk more about it, but these poses are for people with heart issues as well as emotional heart issues, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So how do we start?
Well, we always start with alignment. So we want to have our feet so that they're right in line with our hip bone. So that's the bone that sticks out in the front. So we can just put our finger on that and go directly down to our feet. So from there, it's from one foot to the other. Usually we're barefoot, but that's just fine. And we can do it with our shoes. And then we're going to lift. Everything we do in life is lifting, and especially in yoga because gravity is constantly pushing us down. So we're lifting. So we're lifting through the heart even. So we're lifting through to the crown of our head. So we're bringing the chest up and letting the shoulders come down. Now what oftentimes happens is we still want to be rounded, and that actually collapses the chest and the heart. So we want to keep that chest lifted. So I'm going to stand behind you a moment.
Okay.
And we're just going to rotate the shoulders back a little bit, but
Okay.
they're still in line with the side body. So you can see that that side body is still right in line, but not military. We're not so strong here that we're now creating an arch in the upper back.
Okay.
So that's the very first thing that we start in the truly functional, foundational part of yoga.
Okay.
And then we do the breath. And the
Right.
breath is just paramount because most of us only breathe, as we said earlier, just from the chest up. So we're going to inhale and balloon the abdomen out. Chest expands, shoulders rise. Exhale through the nose, shoulders come down, chest comes in, pull the abdomen in. So it's done slowly and deliberately and very much aware.
Okay.
So we are focusing on what is going on with the breath, and we do that throughout each of the poses. There are a few exceptions. There are 84,000 yoga poses.
What? Oh my!
Yeah, we won't do them all
84,000.
today.
Oh
We're
my
just going to do 3. Yeah, so we're going to do 3 that are actually going to open up a few areas in the body, and especially the heart. You know, right now with the divorce, you have that feeling of I'm stuck or I'm actually closed. Exactly.
Or I'm protecting myself.
You're protecting. So we block all that. And so we're not going to get hurt again. So with the yoga, we actually can open up and still feel okay and still feel worthy about moving forward. And that's what
Yeah.
we want.
Yeah.
So the first one that we're going to do is we're going to do what's called yoga mudra, and mudra means hand movement, so we're actually going to bring the hands behind the body.
Okay.
So we're going to inhale and bring the hands behind and interlace the fingers.
Okay.
So as you're interlacing the fingers, you're going to now start lengthening your arms so the elbows start to straighten. Now rotate the shoulders back and see if you can lengthen a little further. And see if that's there for you and still being able to move the shoulders back a little further. So now we want to work, that's it. So I'm just going to bring my hands here
Wow, why does that feel so unnatural?
because most of the time we're moving forward. Everything we do is forward motion. So if we're
Okay.
brushing our teeth, if we're cooking, if we're driving a car, on the computer, then we actually are moving forward. So we're now opening up the chest and opening up the
That's
heart.
like a stretch by itself.
all by itself. Now see if you can bring your hands away from the body any.
Okay.
And see if they can come up just a little. And see what it does here. It actually opens up a little more through the heart without collapsing the
Wow.
spine.
I feel that.
Yes, yeah. And then to release, we're just going to allow the hands to come back to the body, bend the elbows, and release to the sides.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that
Feels
feels
good,
good.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does feel really opening. And I do. I mean, I sit like this all day long. You know?
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. We eat this way. We brush our teeth. We're always,
Yeah.
what do you call this?
Forward motion, yeah.
Forward motion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so now we're going to actually do a back bend, a little slight back bend. And the key to doing any back bend is to actually allow yourself to go where it's comfortable. So no pain, no gain is not going to work in yoga.
Okay. Yeah. I
So
don't want any pain.
No pain. No, we're getting out of pain. So with that, what we're going to do is we're going to inhale and bring both arms forward and up. Good. And then exhale and let your shoulders relax. Good. Now bring the arms back a little more in line with the side of your head. That's it. Now you're going to inhale and lengthen, lift, squeeze the buttocks and come into a slight back bend. And then exhale, coming into alignment once again. Inhale here. And then on your exhale, round the shoulders back with the elbows being bent. Good.
I feel good.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah,
I even heard
yeah.
a crack. I think that was my elbow.
I think it was yours. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing about any of the yoga poses. It actually will open up those tight areas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then again, I'm thinking, it almost makes me want to stand up straight, you know.
Definitely works
Yeah.
with posture.
Yeah.
Definitely works with
Yeah.
posture on all levels.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
So, is there another one? Or
We're going to do a little more with this one. So we're going
Okay.
to do it again.
Okay.
You're going to inhale, bring both arms forward and up. Bring them all the way up in line with the side of your head. And exhale, let your shoulders relax a little bit. Exhale through the nose. Good. Inhale, press into your feet, squeeze the buttocks, lengthen, come into a slight back bend, not very far. And then exhale, come into center. And then inhale, bend the elbows and round the shoulders back.
so what exactly is this? Because I can feel so much going on, not just obviously in this part. I can feel it in my core. I can feel it in my buttocks,
Your
you
glutes.
know, everything.
Yeah.
And even in my thighs. So
Yeah.
what is this particular pose doing?
This, well, it's opening up the front of the body. So of course the front of the body is everything from crown to feet. So when you're leaning into a back bend, yes, you are making those muscles in the back body work, but you're stretching and extending all the way through. So yeah, you do feel it because you're holding onto the floor, if you will. You're grounding into the floor, then you're lifting up and opening up the chest, opening up the heart, opening up even through your throat. So even when we do poses with opening up the heart, if we can open up and speak our truth by opening up the throat, then we can get back into our day-to-day, move forward again.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, that feels really good. I already feel loosened up.
Yeah.
Well, now, I know that you do, I know you have a studio, and
It's
I know
a
you do
studio.
virtual as well.
Yes, we are.
So, and here in Greenville, you have your studio. And then, do you do personal sessions? Like, I really think I would need that, because when you shifted my shoulders back, that changed everything.
Yeah. Yes, personal sessions are exactly that. It's just you and me, and we work with where you are that day, that time. So if you're working on some things that are creating some sadness or some loneliness, we'll address those in doing the poses as well, so that you can get out of that feeling, at least for starting into a personal session. So we work with you for an hour and a half and work through
Wow, that's
whatever.
a long time.
Yeah, but we're not always just doing a pose.
Yeah.
We're actually working with talking about it.
Right.
Because that's connection, that mind-body connection
I
again.
love that, being able to come just as you are, if you're doing a private session or even in a group session, a personal session or a group session, that if you're really, really sad that day and you can't stop crying, you can bring that to the class or to the session.
Yeah, to a personal session
and
would be,
I know
yeah.
you'd mentioned it before, if you would talk about it again, how this brings the emotion up and then it's released. Is that the way you explain that?
Yes, it's spiraling up. When we have any sort of sadness, anger, anxiety that we're feeling down, we even say the word down. So it's spiraling our energy down. Well, what does gravity do? It pulls us down anyway. So with what we're doing in the yoga poses, we're always expanding and lifting up. So we're spiraling that energy up. And when we do, we can release it.
Right. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Let it go.
And then one more question before we go to break. So if somebody wanted to do personal sessions, how many do you think they would need before they could start a group session and really understand the breath and the poses and that kind of thing?
I always recommend 3 so that they can feel comfortable. The first time it's like, oh, I don't know what I'm really doing.
Like
I don't know
me.
what yoga is
Like
all
me.
about. And then when you get to the second one, then it's okay, well, I've got a little bit and I've practiced a week. So, and then the third one, you've already said, okay, now I've got some questions and now I feel more comfortable. Because you want to feel comfortable when you go into class.
Of course.
You know,
Yeah, because we've all had that feeling of going into class and everybody else knows what they're doing and I feel like a dork. But anyway, well, thank you for
you're
working
welcome.
with me
My
on this. I
pleasure.
love this. Well,
Yes.
when we come back, everyone, it's time. It's that time. It's the Golden Toolbox episode. So we'll be right back with that.
Have you tried CBD? If you haven't experienced the healing benefits of hemp and CBD, please call Franny's Pharmacy's Bud Tenders at 864-349-1018. They are your CBD experts and can recommend which products will serve your needs. So give them a ring today because Deborah knows you deserve to feel better. Franny'sPharmacyGreenville.com.
Welcome back, everyone. You know what time it is. You see what's here on the desk. It's time for the Golden Toolbox segment. Now, you may be wondering what's in here today, like you wonder each and every time. There's always a surprise. This is our favorite part. So today, in keeping with the idea of body and mind and healing, I wanted to introduce sound as the next part of helping us move, since this whole segment's been about movement. So what I have here is a beautiful bell. And this is something that I've had for a long time, and I love to use it. And then also Kristi has a.
It's a Tibetan singing bowl.
So will you play it?
Absolutely.
That's beautiful. So, in using sound, a lot of times in the beginning of meditation classes, in the beginning of yoga
Some yoga,
classes, sometimes in the beginning and the end, the sound of a bell or singing bowl is used. And it's really to bring the body and mind back to center. And, that's a lot of what we've been talking about today, why we are moving, why we are doing yoga to bring ourselves back to center. And, at the end, you also do it to remind people to relax, right?
Definitely.
It's kind of
Yeah. That
okay.
ending of relaxation, Shavasana.
Yeah, the one where
definitely.
you lay there like
Yes.
this. Yes, I love that pose. That's one
Relaxation.
that I don't have any problem with. I think sound makes us move. Just like in one of our last episodes, we were talking about how anger can help you get up off the couch. I think sound can do it too, because,
Yes.
I think about sound, and I think about, when we hear a song and it may be a sound, a song can sometimes bring you to tears, literally, right? It moves you in a way that brings up memories, good or sad or whatever. But it also, music can make you want to get up and move and shake the booty a little bit,
Yeah.
right?
Move the body, sing.
I still love to play my music loud. I'm sure my neighbors don't appreciate that, but I digress. So I think, using sound as a way to help you move and a way to help you, bring your mind back. It's a wonderful way to start the day, to calm yourself, or to have fun and play music.
Yes.
Even like church bells. When you hear church bells, for a lot of people, it can evoke memories of peacefulness or,
Absolutely.
Spirituality or
Special occasions.
Special occasions, absolutely. A wedding, even.
Wedding, yeah.
Or the
Or
opposite.
the opposite.
Oh no! Don't make me cry. I shouldn't have said that. So I think also I think the resonance of music and sound has been used by healers for forever and
definitely.
ever, right?
Definitely.
And the resonance of certain, you can explain this better than me, but the resonance of certain notes or sounds correspond with parts of the body.
They do. They actually will go to the nervous system and bring it back into center.
I love that.
Yeah.
And what is the specific note for the heart?
C.
C.
The
I
note
want to be
is
able
C.
to remember that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So is there a particular singing bowl with a C?
Yes.
There
yes.
is?
So one of my instructors who does the singing bowls at the studio actually has all of them for the energy points, the 7 of them. So they're different sizes, different notes. So each one, and some of them are this big.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So, I just invite you all to, to use sound, to help you move, to help you bring you back to center, to get the mind and body in resonance. I love that word, resonance.
Clear as a bell.
Clear as a bell.
Yeah.
I mean, we've heard that our whole life, right? Clear as a bell. And I know for me, I even use my bell sometimes just if my house just feels stagnant or just stuck or musty, or if I just don't like the energy in the house,
it does clear it.
It does.
Yeah.
And I'll just walk around and ring my bell, and my dog goes, Mom, what are you doing?
Same thing that the Tibetan bells do.
Exactly.
You go from corner to corner.
It changes the resonance, I would imagine,
Absolutely.
of a room and of our bodies.
Right,
because
that
we're
vibration.
Yeah. So I love that.
Yeah.
So I would highly encourage everyone to play around with this sound. The Tibetan, the singing bowl, I'm sure you can find different places. I know bells you can find almost anywhere. But I think everyone should have it in their emotional toolbox. So so much for that. I really love it. So today I've had a great time having you here.
Thank you so much,
And
Deborah.
so I want to just see if you have any final thoughts for the listeners today.
So something a little bit about myself that I can relate. I've never been divorced. I was very much married for a long time to one and only guy, and he died very suddenly. And there's a definite loneliness that is also part of that I felt numbness, actually, from the very first moment that I had to leave the hospital. And that numbness, actually being able to do the yoga poses and the yoga breathing, took me out of that numbness faster than anything else that I could have possibly done.
Wow.
And it just made me come back into living fully, to know that I wanted to move on. I wanted to really hip, hip, hooray, get my life back in order. And it was important. And sometimes even in a divorce, we still feel that numbness. And we want to make changes. We need to make changes. And so yoga does make that movement physically, mentally as well.
Well, I think what I love about everything you've shared today is how yoga can we've talked so much about emotions and how it kind of ties in with the movement of the body. And I will certainly be exploring it more. Maybe not how many gazillion poses
84,000 poses.
84,000 poses, everyone, but I'll be trying a few for sure. So my final thoughts for today, was such a fun episode, and I loved having you here. Thank you for being here, Kristi.
Thank you, Deborah.
And
It was
by the
a
way,
pleasure.
Kristi is here in Greenville, South Carolina. She can do virtual, and she also has a studio. And you can find her at www.itsyogastudio.com. And she's also on Facebook with the same name, and Instagram as well.
Yes.
So please look her up, and I think you'll find she's highly trained and extremely knowledgeable in what we've been talking about today. Okay, guys. Well, my final thoughts about today, really, for me, I've had, as you've been on the journey with me, I've certainly had the sadness and the fear and, lots of anger. I've kind of been in anger here lately. I've been in the anger mode. And I know that moving my body is helping with that. I had a situation the other day. I was just furious. And just doing something as simple as taking my dog for a walk, getting out in nature, trying to breathe, maybe listening to music while I'm walking. I was able to come back and process that anger a little better because I was more connected in, rather than all over the board, angry, mad, blaming. shaming myself.
yeah.
So what I'm finding is movement is truly helping me move on to the next chapter, and I really do feel like I'm moving on, y'all. So we have to always remember we've got to keep trying new things. I invite you to, explore everything we've talked about today. It's truly helping me in my process as I'm moving through all this, and we have to keep doing it. Why? Because we're still here. So we'll see you next time. Can't wait to talk to you some more. Don't forget, if you want to connect, if you have questions, if there are other guests that you'd like for me to have on, please go to goldensguidetodivorce.com or the Instagram of that name. Feel free to drop me a line. I'd love to know what your thoughts are, where you are in your process, what you're using to move out of anger or to move your body, and look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you for being here on this journey with me. It really means a lot. All right, everybody. Thanks, Kristi.
Bye. Thank you,
Bye.
Deborah. Have a great day.
I am here. I am here.